just for the people that couldn't join. Okay, so yeah, we're recording a little behind here, but we're just getting started. Now, for those of you who haven't worked with me, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I am a functional nutrition and lifestyle practitioner. I'm a holistic health coach. Most recently, I'm a culinary nutrition expert, because now I've learned everything about nutrition and now I wanted to learn how to cook properly. But most importantly, I'm a passionate educator, and you'll see that a lot of my programs, a lot of everything that I do working with clients is related to education, because I think it's the main pillar for making change sustainable. You need to be educated, and you need to keep yourself accountable. So those are the two things that are different from me, I would say, and other practitioners. And those are things that I really emphasize when I talk about my practice with my clients and with everyone that is interested. Now, it's a little bit of a different topic. You heard me probably in different master classes in which I've taught specifically about gut health. But today we're going to be talking about a habit that really kind of like got me started into this healing path. And it's the importance of detoxifying critical organs and systems in our bodies for long-term benefit. So if you are, like I said, like, where to start with your digestive issues, a cleanse, it's the best thing that you could do, because it's something that is quick. You have the support, you will see results to keep you motivated, but most importantly, you are targeting the major detox organs. And so that will help you see results right away, but also in the long term. And it also allows you to connect with the rhythms of nature, with yourself, with the season. And even if you are in places like Puerto Rico or Florida, closer to the equator, where like the seasons aren't as marked, there's still seasons. You have the rainy season, the dry season. So it's a matter of like getting connected to that again. And now, seasonal cleanses are not a quick fix, they're not diets, you're not supposed to be deprived of food. It's just really an opportunity to give your body a break, to clear those toxins and those chemicals that you might be sensitive to. But we do it organ by organ, season by season. So essentially 4 times a year. And if you don't do anything else, if you at least do these cleanses, you're making sure that the major detoxification organs are being cleansed. Any questions so far? Please do stop me and let me know. And so this is just just 2 quick questions that I look for you to consider as we go through the presentation. Is what could be the most perfect way that you could connect with nature? How could you take advantage of the seasons? And the first thing that we need to do is, first of all, pay attention to it. And then we'll start incorporating it into our day-to-days. So think about, besides food, what are some other things that you could be thinking about to follow cycles, to connect with nature? Now, a little bit about me and the reason why I wanted to share this story. Some of you have worked with me, some of you I haven't met yet. It's just, I want to share my story, so hoping that you hear something that resonates with you, and that you take that and think about my experience as a way of a learning experience. And hopefully you can relate to that, and you can say, oh, okay, so that happened to me too. She found that solution. Maybe I can do the same thing. This is the main reason why I share my story. And like many of us, we started in this health journey, a lot of practitioners and health coaches and functional nutrition and lifestyle practitioners, because we had either somebody with a issue, like a health issue close to us, like a family member, or it was ourselves. In my case, it was me. I suffered from a lot of digestive issues from a very young age. So you see me there very young with my mom and my dad. And maybe you don't see it by the picture, but my dad already, it's a person that always suffered from acid reflux. He had constipation since the beginning of his years. And my mom had this issue with weight, which was also kind of like transmitted to me. And so already started in a family with kind of like digestive and health issues. And then on my dad's side, we had a lot of doctors. So everything was antibiotic. Here's another pill. Here's another treatment that you should be doing. So I started to realize that I was having a lot of digestive issues, and most importantly, issues with health. And then I said, you know what, let me just work out. Let me just work my way out of these health issues. And that is when I finished the marathon, New York Marathon, back in 2011. And it was one of the worst points of my life, because I thought that by running and by burning all of these calories, I would be able to find my ideal weight. And on the contrary, I was very inflamed. I was very, actually at a point of where I had my highest weight, and you can see in the middle of the picture. And for me, it was a matter of weight, but it was a matter of inflammation. So you can see around the belly, it's like my arms aren't necessarily that, I would say, big. But if you look at the round of my belly, that's inflammation. The small intestine, behind the belly button, the long intestine, they're inflamed. So that's why when I decided to study health and nutrition, I'm like, I gotta get into this and understand more, because no running is getting me out of this feeling of being constipated, bloated, acid reflux, and all of the other skin issues that I had as well. So I started studying, became a holistic health coach. You can see there my picture with my husband when I got married. And I saw some benefits just by studying traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurveda, which are 1,000-year-old healing systems. But I wasn't necessarily getting to the roots of the issues. And that's when I started studying functional medicine or functional nutrition, which really gets into the roots of the issues and helps you address that from a perspective a little bit more clinical than just food theories. And so you can see the picture there. I started to cook better, implement the things that I was learning, already diminishing kind of like the inflammation at the kind of like at the middle part of my abdomen. And then the last picture there is just when I finished one of the cleanses. I believe this was a fall cleanse, which is you really see the inflammation going lower. You really see the benefits of this kind of way of eating. And so by now, I could happily say that I have most of my digestive issues under control, and I'm happy to share the story with all of you, with all of my clients. So that's kind of like how I got here. Hopefully you found it inspiring, but most importantly, you you saw yourself at some point of this part of my journey, and you're going to be able to start implementing the things that I first started implementing with was the seasonal cleansing. So I'm gonna take a little bit of a pause here and drink some water. For those of you who are just joining us right now, if you have a question, please excuse me, feel free to unmute your button, unmute yourself, and ask me questions, interrupt me. Could be as interactive as possible. So really quickly, for those of you who don't know what functional nutrition is, it's really the aspect of considering it's the practice of considering every aspect of your life when it comes to health. So we're not only just taking into consideration your diet, we're also thinking at your overall lifestyle. What's your level of stress? How much are you drinking water? How much are you sleeping? And then we're going to make some recommendations based on that to help you get the body to the functional level, to the optimal level. That's what the whole functional nutrition is about. And the main difference is that we're really, versus just, I would say, conventional medicine, for instance, is that we're really trying to address chronic issues from a preventing perspective. So instead of just like trying to get in there and address the what, like what's happening and what can I recommend right away, it's like, let's just take a step back. Let's think about a why first. What are some of the things that are triggering your symptoms? Why is it happening right now? What happened in your previous years? Like what happens with your family? What happens with your environment? So we're really looking at the why and then addressing everything together versus just taking consideration or focusing on the what is it and what can we recommend right away. So that's the main difference. And I throw that in there because a lot of people aren't familiar with this concept. And I think it's very important because it's the base of what we do here in Little by Little. Now, what you're going to be learning in this class, first of all, I'm going to teach you what are the 3 main roots of any discomfort or any chronic issue that you might have. So we're going to go ahead and talk about that. Then we're going to finally get into the connections with the cycles of nature. And we're going to learn what are some of the benefits of detoxifying every season. These are the 3 things you're going to be talking about today specifically. So first, let's just talk a little bit about the 3 main roots and how everyone is different, but how these three main roots of chronic issues or any symptoms that you can have are really kind of like very common for everyone. So what I like to do is I like to think about my health as a tree. And the tree, as you can see in this picture, we have our roots and we have our branches. Now, there, as I mentioned, there are three main roots of chronic issues and symptoms that you might have. And these are your genes, these are your digestion, and your inflammation. These are the three common roots of most of the issues out there. And then we have the different symptoms, and those are the branches. So if you have constipation, that's a little branch. If you have hypothyroidism, that's another branch. If you suffer from eczema, that's another branch. And you can see how all of these branches are going to be connected to the roots, and they're all going to be part of the same tree. So in order for us to feel optimal health, we need to take into consideration all of your branches and focus on the roots first, because it's like a plant, right? Like I just planted kale, my roots were very healthy, the terrain looked great, I was watering every day, and I had great kale leaves. So it's a little bit of an analogy that I like to use. If you think about your health as a tree, and let's just focus on the main three roots, which we're gonna talk about right now. So these are the main three roots, and every root has kind of like 4 parts. I'm not gonna go into each of them because this is a really quick overview, but I want you to think about your genes, right? Like before, it was thought that you were born with certain genes and that was it. But now we know the concept of epigenetics. And epigenetics, what it says is that everything, your environment, your mindset, your movement, the food, everything that we do affects our genes. And we can actually improve your genes. So it's an incredible concept that allows us to be more conscious about our decisions on a day-to-day basis, and not just be like, oh, my genes are horrible, that's all I'm going to do, and that's who I'm going to be, and that's it. So the idea is that you can start changing your genes little by little by focusing on these 4 things. Now, in terms of digestion, which is the second main root, this is why I decided to focus on digestion. First, because it's one of the things that we see benefits right away as we change that. The genes might take a little bit longer, but the digestion, you see results right away. And it's very important. It's like the key thing of most of the symptoms that we experiment, or the chronic issues that we have. So what are the 4 things? The microbiome is very important. So the amount and the quality of the bacteria that you have in your gut. Some of the foods that you, in order for the digestive system to work, you're going to have to remove some foods. The food is so important that it's in line with nature. And this is when this class becomes so important, because it is important that it's in line with the environment that we're in. And then also there might be some mechanical and structural issues in the digestive system that take a little bit more time to process, and a little bit more of maybe testing and more of a clinical perspective. And then when it comes to inflammation, it is very important to, again, remove some foods that cause inflammatory effects. Also, your mindset is very important when it comes to inflammation. If you have fears, if you're very stressed out, you're going to be inflamed. And then also your microbiome, or your gut bacteria, is very important. So the reason why I like to mention this in this particular class is because in every cleanse that we do 4 times a year, we're handling the genes, the digestion, the inflammation. We're watering our roots. We're making sure our roots are improving so that our tree of our life, it's this optimal, amazing thing. So if you decide to do a cleanse of your major organs 4 times a year at least, you are touching on all of these points, and you are doing what you're supposed to do. It's still already very positive for your optimal health. Any questions on this concept of 3 roots and many branches? I see Steph is saying no. So that means I was very clear, or it was very boring. So we're moving on. And I just want to say the last thing, to leave a little bit of the topic of the 3 roots and many branches, is that everyone is going to be very unique and very different. And so that's why it is so important. Every tree is different, that you talk to somebody, that you work with somebody that is kind of like guiding you through the process of discovering the roots of your issues and working with you to help you make that tree of life as optimal as you can. Now, okay, let's talk about this step 2 or part 2 of the class. Let's talk about the connection with nature and the cycles of nature. Now, we're going to jump into each of the individual seasons, right? Spring, autumn, or spring, summer, autumn, and winter. And we're going to go into the details of the organs, the emotions. This is just kind of like a quick snapshot. If you're taking notes, that's great. But if you're not, no worries. We have a surprise for you at the end, which most of the stuff is going to be already ready for you to download and you can have it handy. I see Steph smiling because I see her taking notes. So, okay, cool. I love working with women, and the reason why I love working with women, it's because we work in cycles. We have a menstrual cycle. We think in a cycle kind of way, like we can take care of different things. It's not a straight line. When you think about patriarchalism versus matriarchalism, or patriarchal society versus a matriarchal society, which is unfortunately in the society that we live in today, it's all about getting things done, straight line. There's an end at the end, versus the matriarchal society, which it was in the past before we got into the patriarchal society. It's cycles. It's all about the cycles of agriculture, the cycles of the moon, the cycle of life. There is a time for everything. When we're young, when we're adults, when we're a little bit older. And so it's this concept that I love, that it's more experienced in women. And it's so important for us to connect with that, because we will be in flow if you're connected with different cycles. Whether you can start with the cycles of nature, but it goes deeper than that. I don't want to spend the whole class talking about that, but if you get to connect with the cycles of nature, then you get to connect with your cycle. Then you get to connect with the moon, which is connected with your cycle, and with your cycle of life. Then you will feel in flow. Believe me, it's a really nice feeling. But let's just start with like the more basic and more, I would say, physical thing, which is right now connecting with nature, through food and through the different organs. So let's learn more about each of them. Now, this is just one of my favorite kind of like statements here. And nature is so wise. Like if you look outside right now, everything is green. My veggies are coming out of the floor, like are rising. They're growing. The flavors and the foods are really there to support us. Like when you think about eating a frozen smoothie in winter, it just doesn't kind of like make sense. It's not great. Like nature is not designed for that. On the contrary, we want to make sure we find the foods that will nourish our organs, that are in the rhythm of nature. But most importantly, we can also save some money, because if we're eating local and things that are grown in the same season, we're going to save money. So these are kind of like the 3 main reasons why I think it's important for us to continue and to focus on eating with the season. Now, let's just get started and talk about spring. Questions so far? Good. Okay, cool. So spring. Now, what do I base on when I look at the organs and the feeling and the emotions of each season? I base it on 2 main healing systems, which are ancient. One is Ayurveda and one is traditional Chinese medicine. So in Ayurveda, which is the Indian system that has been used for the past 5,000 years or so, season or spring is really the season for renewal. And if you think about it, everyone thinks about, oh, a spring cleanse, in terms of like cleaning your apartment, spring cleaning everything out from winter so you can take the stuff from summer. And it should start also with your body, because it is the season for renewal. Now, also in Chinese medicine, we think about the wood element for spring, and the emotion is anger. In terms of the wood element kind of like governs the vision and imagination and dreams, but the organs that we're going to be working on specifically are the liver, the gallbladder, and the liver and the gallbladder. So this is an interesting concept that I want you to kind of like think about. If you did the spring cleanse with me, you probably heard me talk about this. But have you felt, for instance, that when you are out of balance, right? When your vision is kind of blocked, you feel frustrated. and you can feel anger. And that's kind of like the connection that we have here with the wood element, vision. So when the wood element is out of balance, then you feel anger, you feel frustrated, and that usually gets reflected on the liver and the gallbladder. And so, for instance, what happens to me is I crave a lot of crunchiness in spring, like the chips and whatever. And I feel like it's just my anger coming out, like, eating the chips. Like I need to balance, I need to remove all that stuff, balance my wood, and just get my liver the support that it needs so that my anger actually goes away. So, what are some of the signs that your liver might be impaired or the gallbladder? If you have skin or eyes that are a little bit yellowish, some kind of abdominal pain, itchy skin, your urine is it's dark, you have chronic fatigue. These are just some of the signs of impaired liver. But one of the key ones is inflammation for the liver. So does anybody know where the liver is located in in yourself? Okay, because I think Jean, you were gonna say something. Or no? No. Okay.
The left.
It's actually in the right. But this is one of the things that I think is so important with this whole point of like connecting with the major organ of detoxification in your body, because we're gonna first identify them. So if you put like your liver is kind of like the size of your palm, more or less, a little bit smaller. So if you place that on the right hand side below the rib cage, that's where your liver is. I don't know if you can see it there. So it's like around here, and you can see it also kind of like comes a little bit on the left side. So if you ever feel inflamed in that part, and I feel like a lot of my clients, they can describe where the pain is or the inflammation. So we're gonna have to kind of like deconstruct it, but that's where the liver is. So usually what I like to do is just give my liver some love in springtime, like send some good thoughts, meditate on it, imagine that it's kind of like surrounded by green luminosity. Like all of these things are so important to give our liver some love. And so like spring is really important for your liver, and in the different, I mean, we can do a whole master class on what the function of the liver is, but the main one is that it's supposed to cleanse the liquids, or supposed to cleanse our blood. So that's key, right? It's key that the liver works very well. Now, moving on to any questions on spring. We have here fruits, and of course there's some fruits that you can find in winter, in spring, and summer, but there's some of them that are kind of like particular. Like for instance, when I think about spring, I think about berries. So you can see the strawberries there, blueberries, all the berries are great for spring. And I also think about green. It's like all the green, like the broccoli, the chards, the leek, everything that has a little chlorophyll, which is so important for our body, and it helps cleanse also our blood. So there are going to be some veggies and some fruits that repeat. Just I want during my cleanses to focus on some of those that are key for that specific season. For spring, it's going to be the berries. They have a little antioxidant properties, and the greens because of the chlorophyll. Now let's talk about summer. It's coming, like it's the season we're in. The element is fire, the color is red, and the organs that we focus on are the small intestine and the heart. Now we all know where the heart is, hopefully, right? On the kind of like on the left side. And the emotion is joy. But what about the small intestine? Do you guys know where the small intestine is? Okay. So the small intestine, if we place our hand on our belly button, it's right below. So whenever you feel that you have some kind of a pain there, it's not your stomach. The stomach is actually a little bit up from the belly button, and the small intestine is right behind the belly button. And the way it works is, in our digestion process, we eat the food, we start the digestive process in our mouth with the saliva and enzymes. It goes through our esophagus, then it goes to our stomach, and then it goes into the small intestine, where a lot of the absorption of the nutrients are happening. And if our small intestine it's impaired, the internal lining of it, we're going to suffer from a lot of inflammation, a lot of nutrients like not having the ability to absorb nutrients. But most importantly, we are prone to diseases that are more on the autoimmune diseases such as IBS, IBD, because you've heard me talk about this in the past. Once the walls of the small intestine get corrupted, we get certain particles like gluten and dairy coming into our bloodstream, and that gets inflamed right away. So what we need to do, and this is why summer is, if you're not going to do any cleanse, just do summer. It's one of the most important ones for your gut health. So summer, and also fall because of the long intestine. So these are some of the signs that your small intestine might not be working properly. Diarrhea, constipation, as we talked about, feeling bloated, gassy, and it's because of the internal damaging of the small intestine. So what are some of the things that we can do in summer to help us with that? Give our body, or give our digestive system a break. So a lot of watery fruits, cantaloupe is key, watermelon is key, grapes are delicious, but we try to focus on raw and just very light veggies and fruits, trying to get those enzymes help us and help us with the digestive process in the system. Now, not everyone can handle raw stuff because their small intestine is already impaired, but for those of you who can, it will be the perfect opportunity to eat a lot of raw fruits and raw salads. And then, any questions so far for summer? Cool. So moving on to fall. Fall, it's the perfect time to really establish your colon health. It's all about feeling focused and grounded. One of the main symptoms of obstructed colon, it's kind of like having mental, blurriness, or mental, when I can even think about when you're
fog.
Yes, Nati, yes, thank you for translating my thoughts. Mental fog, exactly. That's one of the main kind of like symptoms that your colon might be not working properly. So what do we want to do in fall? We want to make sure we focus on eliminating as much as we can, so a lot of fibers will come in. This is also a season in which I recommend a colonic at the end of a cleanse. So summer or fall, great time for you to do colonics after a cleanse. And also it's the lungs are also connected with this season. And so whenever you have like asthma, sinusitis, allergies, skin issues like eczema, all of this are connected with either your lungs and the colon. And so that's why fall, it's such an important time also. Like I said, if you don't do anything, summer and fall will be my key seasons to really focus on your detoxifying organs. What are some of the things that are key for fall? Specifically the pear in terms of fruit. So pears and apples, pears and apples are key for fall. And then when it comes to the veggies, of course, all the pumpkins, the butternut squash, all of those kind of like very rich, good fat and fiber kind of veggies and fruits. And then finally, we jump into our winter, which is kind of like an anti-stress nurturing protocol. And it's funny because it's kind of like counter-interactive. We're supposed to be anti-stress in winter. It's a season for us to go to bed earlier. The days are cold, the days are shorter. And it's kind of like on the country, we're out there celebrating Christmas parties, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate, and like office end of year parties. So it's really important that in winter you take 1 week, 5 days to really focus on giving your kidneys and your adrenal glands that rest, because that's what we're going to be focusing here in winter. One of the important things is, do you guys know where your kidneys are, or your adrenal glands? So if you put like 2 fists like this, and you put them in your back, kind of like around your waist, a little bit lower, those are where your kidneys are, and we have two, right and left. And then on top of the kidneys, we're gonna have a little bit of a, it's like a bean. The kidney is like a bean form, and then on top we have our adrenal glands. And the adrenal glands are kind of like our stress hormones, or stress organ. So whenever we feel exhausted or we're stressed out, there's going to be adrenal exhaustion. So when you have unexplained hungerness, cravings, digestive concerns, high or low blood pressure, and you have problems with sleeping, it has to do with your adrenals. And so that's why it is so important that we take time during winter and try to cleanse and try to nurture it as much as we can, especially in the like kind of like the lifestyle that we have nowadays with everything. It's very stressful, and we usually, it's harder for us to kind of like stop and take a break. In terms of some of the veggies and fruits, of course for winter we're not going to have that many fruits, and then ideally veggies, a lot of the greens that usually kind of like go through fall and you're able to conserve it in the fridge. Broccolis, some of the beans like broad beans, the leeks, the chards. But also winter, it's a lot about warming foods. So species like cumin and curry and soups and good fat as well. So it's about trying to replenish our bodies with these nurturing veggies or fruits, but in a way that it's done in which you're also giving a break to your adrenals. And in order to do that, we try to reduce a little bit of the fat that we eat, and it's more about very easy to digest, kind of like soupy vegetables in winter. If you guys remember, that's what we did for the winter cleanse. So with that, that's all I had. Any questions on the seasons? Anything that I could answer?
Yeah, I have one. Is there a summer cleanse, like a specific one? Like, because we did a winter and a spring with the liver detox, but is there a summer one like that we can actually do?
Thank you, Steph. It's like you and I practiced this, we didn't, of course, but yes, and that is kind of like the following conversation that I wanted to bring up. So you have in this guide, in this class, you have everything that you need if you want to start your own summer cleanse. You know what to do. The information is here. And you can download the free bonus, which is like basically a little bit of a handout with everything that I put together in this presentation. But we're going to have a 5-day summer cleanse. It's starting on July 13th. Steph is celebrating with me. And yeah, the reason why I think, like I said, it is, you could do this. Like Jean is a pro at doing cleanses. Everyone is, you have the knowledge to do it. But it's so important to, one, the education part of it. So the master class that goes with the cleanse, understanding where those, in this case, is it's small intestine and the heart, and what are some of the things that we're going to be doing to repair the membranes. But most importantly, the accountability. And that's what we do with the Healthy app. I know Steph misses it. I miss Natty in there. So hopefully, now that you move back to New York, Natty, and you're ready to have a little more of seasonal differentiation here, you'll join us too. But yeah, having that ability to post your pictures, having me there to coach you through the process, in those 5 days, have a nice community within in the WhatsApp group. But most importantly, the class, the recipes are going to be ready for you. The shopping lists are going to be ready for you. And I know that Steph usually end up doing the cleanse for like a couple of weeks just because she has so much leftovers, which depends on your family and depends on how much you like to eat. But everything that is there is really delicious foods. And this is just what you learn in the masterclass. We talk about what are some of the things that we're going to be using to help with the small intestine and the heart health. And most importantly, I like to add also lifestyle changes. So we'll probably have meditations. We'll probably have exercises. You know how that is not just about food in my cleanses. And it's just a 5-day of really fun info and really ability for you to see results at the end. Here are the prices. So it's $97, the total investment. And again, you get the recipes, the protocol for 5 days, the shopping list, the accountability through the Healthy app, And then it's 77 if you register before July 9th. And then if you bring a friend, it's going to be 67. So I do hope that you guys join me and you start your summer, well, kind of like middle of summer. But the reason why I picked it to start like specifically July 13th, it's because we get over like the July 4th and all the barbecues and all the fun that people have planned already. And then we have that week to kind of like cleanse from that and just get our bodies ready to continue hopefully the summer in a more healthier way than what we do for 4th of July celebrations. So this is all that includes again, and then that's it. That's all I had. So I just really want to thank you for your time, for listening. Hopefully this was a lot of good information, and you're going to be able to implement it right away if you download the handouts that it's Maria, are we gonna, where is the download? Are we sending it via email, or they need to go somewhere? I think Maria left me, but no worries, ladies. We'll find a way to get the handout over to you.
No, we're here. I'm here, Steph.
Hey, Gabby.
I don't know if you can hear me. Hello. We send it by email before the class. They all have it.
Okay, so it's already in your email. Perfect. Thank you, Gabby. Well, sounds good, ladies. Any other questions? If you don't have anything else, then I'll be happy to. I'll see you in my next class, and hopefully you'll get the replay and share with somebody that you think might benefit from this, and hopefully I'll see you in the summer cleanse as well. Thank you so much, ladies. Bye.
Steph.
Bye. Bye, Nati.